Before we get into the Bengals Week 3 preseason winners and losers, roster cuts are coming. Cut down day for the Bengals is on August 29th. That's Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have a full breakdown of the Bengals 53-man roster, so make sure you're subbed and don't miss out. The Bengals come up short against the Washington Commanders in the final preseason game, which doesn't really matter that much. You know the drill by now, right? We don't care about the win-loss outcome, although it is more fun if they win, but rather focused on a wide variety of individual performances as the Bengals lose by 2 against Washington. First up, Jake Browning, the quarterback. We have spent plenty of time discussing who's going to be your number 2 guy at the quarterback spot for Cincinnati. Now we have the answer, I think, pretty clearly. I would be shocked, I say, if this was anybody other than Jake Browning for the Cincinnati Bengals. Did not play that much for Cincinnati. Didn't need to. 6 for 6, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Ended last week's game on a great note. Began this week's game on a perfect note as well. I think relative to what the Bengals have on the roster, especially now that it does not seem that Brandon Allen will be released by the 49ers since they traded away Trey Lance, I think the Bengals have their backup quarterback, at least their quarterback 2. We'll spend some more time here on QB3, but I would pencil in Jake Browning as your backup for Joe Burrow, with, of course, the goal, the hopes, and the plans of never seeing him in a snap that matters ever because Joe Burrow just stays healthy. If you agree, type in Y for yes. If you don't, type in N for no. The next winner, Andrei Iosivas. Loser is the broadcast trying to pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure it was, at one point it was like Andrei Iosivas, I think was said, or like Nochi. It doesn't make any sense. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I was once again impressed by Iosivas, who has cemented himself as a roster player for this Bengals team, or rostered player, I should say. 3 catches, 35 yards on 6 targets, a long of 25, a nice touchdown catch. Really great in those contested catch situations. I have been quite impressed by him. Does he play much this year? You know, I'm not so sure. Trenton Irwin is still going to be your wide receiver 4. That he did not play in this game is a clear sign of that, mind you. Jones is probably next man up in slot scenarios, despite, I think, Iosivas maybe not playing him by a little bit in the preseason as Jones battles that shoulder injury. I have been impressed by Yoshi. He's definitely making this team. Who is your biggest preseason winner for the Bengals? Could be from last night's game or just overall. It is the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Tight end Tanner Hudson is next up. You know, I think there's a very real shot he ends up being your tight end 3. I think he's earned that role, frankly. I've been impressed by him throughout the season. I will also make note that the Bengals did not play Drew Sample. There's your tight end 2, locked and loaded. 4 catches, 42 yards, and a long of 20. Had another reception that was called back because of a really bad face mask penalty by Trey Hill. Stick around for the losers on that front there. I would keep Hudson as tight end 3, although I'm not, disinclined to look for more options in the waiver wire as well. Maybe your biggest defensive winner throughout the preseason, Raymond Johnson III. 3 pressures and a handful of snaps, a nice 4th down stop, 2 tackles, a pass breakup. I have been very impressed by Raymond Johnson all preseason long, although it is very tough to find a way to get him on your 53-man roster when Hubbard, Sample, Murphy, Hendrickson, in theory, Joseph Ossai, will come back to him in his injury in a little bit. It makes Johnson your 6th edge, which carries 6. He's definitely over Jeff Gunter for me right now, but that's 6 edges when you're probably going to carry 5 defensive linemen. That's a lot of numbers, and the numbers game doesn't always pan out from that perspective. What Johnson III is this year, there's a player every year for, normally multiple players every year for each team. Guys, you've got to keep him on the roster. He's going to get claimed. And 98 times out of 100, that guy does not get claimed. Now, edges are a premium position, and it does worry me a little bit more than, say, like a running back or a wide receiver getting claimed because these preseason guys who get claimed, it's normally not about the talent. It's normally about filling a need. Well, teams are always in the market for edge rushers. So what would you do with Raymond Johnson? Type in R for you'll put him on the roster, or P for you'll waive him and try to get him down to the practice squad. Go vote for me in the comment section right now. I also think Domenique Davis fits a similar category in this area. Now, Davis has kind of been a career journeyman too. Began his career with the Jets. After all, was bounced around and was up and down from the practice squad last year. Could you argue he's your fifth best defensive lineman? Yes, I truly believe you could. He had 3 pressures, 8 tackles, a sack, quarterback hit. Super impressed by Domenique Davis. 5 years ago, both these guys probably make the roster because the talent wasn't good enough in Cincinnati. Now, either they force their way on, or hope you get them down to the practice squad. A player you will be able to get to the practice squad, I feel pretty confident there, is Shedrick Jackson. 3 catches, 56 yards, a touchdown, a long of 34. I continue to be impressed with what we've seen so far from Shed. He didn't do much at Auburn as a receiver. That might have been the coaching and the quarterback play with what we've seen so far. I think this is a prime practice squad wide receiver who I do feel pretty good about getting there. But I think from entering the year of maybe he's a practice squad guy to he should definitely be on it is a nice step forward. Now, you should get this awesome Bengals NFL Jam shirt. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, perhaps the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL, and I think certainly is the best young version there. Get yours today. chatsports.com/BengalsJam. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, DJ Ivey has been on that bubble for maybe that last spot. I thought he played very well. Was targeted 6 times, allowed 3 catches for 28 yards, had 2 pass breakups. 50% completion rate with 2 PBUs is very good. Now, those numbers are per Pro Football Focus, so you're assuming that the tracking is correct. Sometimes it's a bit dicey, but no one else really does it there. I think if you're carrying that 6th corner, I think DJ Ivey should be your man. I'll also make note here briefly of running back Chase Brown. The Bengals did not play Chris Evans, which he's on the roster. That's what that tells me. So you could definitely put Chris Evans as a winner here. I also thought Chase Brown fared pretty well over the course of the preseason, really. Had 1 negative catch, but also caught 1 pass for 4 yards. 11 carries, 39 yards is not sexy by any means, but Jacob Saylor had 3 yards per carry. I think Evans, Brown are going to make this team, and it's a matter that the Bengals carried 4 backs, probable, or maybe it's only 3. All right, the losers. Let's talk injuries here. You knew it was coming. It was in the headline after all. Joseph Ossai suffered an ankle injury against the Commanders. The early hope is this is just a sprain, maybe a low ankle sprain, and Ossai doesn't miss any time. We'll know more, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. Should know in the near future of what this status looks like for Ossai. I am upset. Frankly, I don't think he should have been playing. Ossai is your number 3 edge rusher. I would not have had them out there. And if the Bengals could do it over again, they'd tell you the same thing. I know they wanted to get him reps. His injury history, I would not have put him out there. I think that was a mistake of the Bengals coaching staff. It's all hindsight, to be clear. But Ossai was looking really great, was going to be your 3rd edge. Maybe he misses some time. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe if he has to go to IR, that's how you get Raymond Johnson onto your active roster. But that's all speculation at this point. Also injured was Deontay Smith. Now, Smith had already emerged as the better right tackle option than Jackson Carman, and I thought he was going to be your number 3. Now, he suffered a shoulder injury against the Commanders. Again, not a ton of details on that front there. I've seen players leave a game with a shoulder injury, come back the next week. Hopefully that's the exact same thing, because if it's not and Smith misses time, that opens another roster spot on the offensive line for someone like maybe a Hakeem Adeniji, or maybe you guarantee that you actually keep Jackson Carman, who we'll get to in a little bit. Next up on the loser side, Trevor Siemian. He was 14 of 23, which is not great, for 133 yards. That's less than 6 yards per attempt, and 1 interception. Not only has Trevor Siemian lost the number 2 quarterback battle, I think he's lost a roster spot. I don't need him out there. Why do I? You can go sign Will Grier if you look great for the Cowboys. You can sign a third QB or just don't carry one. And maybe put Simeon on the practice squad. That's fine. I see no reason to carry Simeon as a third QB for Cincinnati. At minimum, as a vested veteran, I think he will be cut and then maybe brought back if you want to play that numbers game during roster cutdown time. Who has been the biggest preseason loser for the Bengals? You can be mean. Sound off in the comments section. Jackson Carman. This is maybe the right answer to that last question, by the way. 21 pass block snaps against the Commanders, 3 hits and 3 hurries. That is garbage. That is terrible. I will take a washing machine and a trade for Jackson Carman at this stage. I heard some good things about camp early on, and it's kind of all been downhill since then. He has not fared well in the preseason. I hope DeAndre Smith is healthy, because otherwise Carman kind of becomes my de facto third offensive tackle. I would love to find a trade partner for him if Smith is healthy. He was horrible against the Commanders, and I can't have that in a game that actually matters right now. Travion Williams did not play this week. He has missed time with an ankle injury. Chris Evans, I think, has maybe taken the lead for RB2. The Bengals are going to put Chase Brown on this team. Williams is kind of in an awkward spot of he should be on the roster, but he would be a top surprise cut candidate. Hopefully he's healthy, gets back soon, but I'm a little anxious about this one for him moving forward. Trey Hill was also bad along the offensive line. I think this kind of cements the fact that Max Sharping is going to be your first backup interior offensive lineman. Maybe Hill makes the roster, maybe he doesn't, but I do not think he fared very well in this matchup. Finally, Jordan Battle. Now, he did have 5 tackles, also missed one, but he was dinged for 2 of the touchdowns allowed. Targeted 4 times in coverage, which safety targets are always a bit dicey, and unless it's man-to-man, sometimes just goes to the nearest guy, which maybe was a busted coverage, not the safety's fault, but that's always tough to ID. 4 targets, 4 catches, 49 yards, and 2 scores. If you were thinking Jordan Battle over Nick Scott, not going to be the case in week 1, or maybe at all this season.